a 5-star recruit to Indiana in football?
You are Locked On Hoosiers, your daily podcast on the Indiana Hoosiers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. It is the Locked On Hoosiers podcast. I'm your man, Jacob Goins. I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. Happy Friday, ladies and gentlemen, if you're watching this on the day that it comes out. Hope you have a wonderful day. Have a great weekend coming up as well. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first ticket purchase. Terms apply. Download the Game Time app today. 5-star recruit taking a visit to Indiana. That's nothing new. We're used to that. That's happened all the time. That happens every year here in Bloomington, right? Some of the best players in the country, the highest rated recruits, always want to check out the Indiana Hoosiers. On the hardwood, we're talking about Julian Lewis, the 5-star quarterback who's been committed to USC for what seems like forever, has decided to take a visit here to Indiana. We're talking about that today and whether he really could come here to Bloomington, and my goodness, what that would mean for this program and what it would mean for this state in terms of football. Unbelievable what this could do. So we'll talk about that today. Plus, some football upgrades are being officially planned. Scott Dolson, the athletic director, talked a little bit about that on what's happening with those football facilities, how that can impact somebody like Julian Lewis that could decide to come here. Plus, talking a little Indiana baseball today as we get down the stretch of the season as well. They're in a tight race up top at the Big Ten right now. A big weekend series against Nebraska. That's all coming up on the show today on Locked On Hoosiers. It is official. I know you saw the news yesterday, and you know what? It was a surprise to me as it was to you. Julian Lewis, the 5-star quarterback, the highly rated quarterback, one of the most sought-after recruits that we have seen in a long time. The 6'1", 185-pound quarterback will be taking an official visit to Bloomington right here to Indiana in May. It's unbelievable. It's crazy. Now, there were some folks, whether you're on 3 or 247, I don't care, whatever site you want to use, that's fine. There were people that said that Indiana maybe had a possible chance to even have a conversation with this guy, right? Some people said that. I'll give them their flowers. Nobody, and I mean nobody, said that Julian Lewis was going to take an official visit to Indiana. And if they claim that they did, I got to see proof, because I have not seen anything about this in forever. I mean, this came so far out of the blue. When this broke yesterday from 247, I could not believe it. And I said, well, know my episode for tomorrow, because this is just huge news. And no, he hasn't committed and he's not signed and it's just an official visit. But man, for other programs, it's just an official visit. But for Indiana, this is big news. And what's exciting to me and refreshing to me is that Indiana football is in the news for the right reasons. We're on top right now in terms of media coverage, and everybody's like, wait a minute. What's going on over there in Bloomington? What's in the water over there that we need to maybe take a sip of because Julian Lewis wants to go check it out? Maybe we should too. We're in the news for the right reasons, folks, and give all the credit in the world to head coach Curt Cignetti. He has brought in a new buzz, a new hype, a new just mojo to this football program. So much so, you're bringing in a 5-star quarterback recruit in Julian Lewis, who's been committed to USC, who's been being recruited by the likes of Auburn and other big-time programs, who wants to come and check it out. That's awesome, man. I mean, that's just fantastic. Now, the big question is, will he come and actually commit and play football at Indiana? I don't know. Your guess is as good as mine. I have no idea. But just the possibility of it gets me pretty hyped up, gets me pretty excited. I hope you can hear that and see that on my face for those of you on video and in my voice for everybody. I mean, you should be excited about this. Now, whether it goes well or not, I don't know. Whether he commits or not, I don't know. But I think you have to just lock down, be focused, and be ready to go. Because he's taken a couple of big-time visits throughout the June month as well. So Indiana is in a really good spot in terms of where he's going to be visiting over the next couple of months. Here are the dates that you need to know. All right. He'll be at USC on June 7th. He'll be at Auburn on June 14th. And he'll be at Colorado on June 21st. But he'll be in Indiana on May 31st. Okay. That's the day that he's coming in for that weekend. He's going to be here for the weekend of May 31st. So Indiana's getting the first official visit other than what he's already done. I mean, he's been committed to USC for a long time. But Indiana has a chance to put out the biggest red carpet you can find. I don't care if you've got to get it custom made and have his name written on it as he gets off the plane, as he gets into a limo to come see the football facility. I don't care. Lay it out for this guy. Give him everything he wants in terms of what he wants in playing time, what he wants in facilities, what he wants in a lifestyle. All of that has to fit. And then, yeah, you're going to have to pay him. And you know what? That's a conversation for a different time. The Hoosiers are in it. You don't take an official visit, which I know that means a little bit less now because you don't have to keep up with that and track them like you used to and have a limited number, blah, blah, blah. But it's still, he's taken the time to fly out here and check us out. That's a big deal. Will he come here? I don't know, but we're in the door. We got a chance, and we're battling with big-time programs like Auburn, like USC, and sure, like Colorado as well. That's big, big news. 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis, who, listen to these stats in his junior season a year ago. Threw 186 completions on 280 passes, 3,000 yards, 48 touchdowns, and just 2 interceptions. And the highest level of high school ball in the state of Georgia. That's pretty good. I think that's okay. I think that's pretty solid if you ask me. And, man, when's the last time this big of a quarterback recruit visited Indiana football? It's been a long time. And this guy's one of the highly rated guys in the 2025 class. The Hoosiers are in it. That's all I'm telling you. He's coming to Indiana to take an official visit May 31st. Mark it on your calendar. Circle it in red a couple of times. We'll talk about it between now and then. We got, what is that, about 3 weeks or so before, is that, yeah, my math is right, about 3 weeks before he shows up here. So, gosh, the excitement's going to be crazy. And if you could do everything right, and we're going to talk about the facilities in just a second and how that's going to bleed into this as well. This is big news. Even if he doesn't come here, this is a step in the right direction for the Indiana football program. 5-star quarterback Julian Lewis taking an official visit to Indiana football and head coach Curt Cignetti. Well, coming up on Locked On Hoosiers, we are going to talk about those football facilities. We got a lot more information from Athletic Director Scott Dolson on what the Hoosiers are looking to do, what the athletic department is looking to do in terms of the football program and how they're just trying to invest long overdue money in the football program. We'll talk about that coming up after this on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Game Time. Look, Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which makes getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices in the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Because with Game Time, you can pick out any specific games or matchups that you'd love to attend in the NBA playoffs. And they've got zone deals, flash deals. You can see the views from your seat, all of that and more on the Game Time app. I've told you that us here at Locked On, man, we have just become super fans of Game Time, myself included. I've used it numerous times on sporting events. I've used it on a comedy show. I mean, just all sorts of things. And so, hey, for those of you here in the state of Indiana, you want to go see the Pacers play? They play tonight on Friday. Use the Game Time app for the playoffs and go watch the Pacers as they try to come back from a 2-0 deficit against the New York Knicks. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off those Indiana Pacers playoff tickets tonight and this weekend in Indianapolis. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Welcome back into Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here, making this your go-to spot for all things Indiana athletics. Yes, all things Indiana athletics. If you're on the audio version, thank you so much for listening each and every day. Be sure you follow us on there, turn on notifications so you never miss a new episode of the show. Those of you on YouTube watching me right now, thank you so much. We are on our way. We are so close to 2,500 subscribers. I'll give you a live update as I speak right now. 2,474. Can we get there before Monday? Absolutely. Come on in. Be a part of the show. Be a part of this team. Be a part of this family. Hit the subscribe button. Takes one tap of the thumb. It's really that easy. Also, like the video, send it out to your family and friends so nobody ever misses a new episode of Locked On Hoosiers. Well, talking about quarterback Julian Lewis and what he could bring to this program, I want to continue into that while talking about the facility upgrades that the Hoosiers are trying to do for Indiana football. It's no secret that it's been much needed that Indiana football's facilities needed to be lifted. It needed more than a facelift, man. This needed some plastic surgery. Like it needed something serious. And not just in terms of what Indiana needs, but just in comparison. And I know you don't want to compare all the time, but guess who does compare? Recruits. Guys like Julian Lewis, they compare. They compare everywhere they go. And you start looking around the Big Ten, just in the Big Ten, Indiana's facilities are bottom tier. You start looking around college football, you're telling me that Auburn, Colorado, USC, they don't have big-time football facilities going right now? Well, they do. And so if you want to truly be in the game for these types of players, yeah, you got to give them something to be excited about. And that's what Scott Dolson, the athletic director at Indiana, has sort of been talking about and has some really interesting things to say after some pictures started going around, some things that have started for Indiana. And here's some quotes from Scott Dolson back in April. He said, "The weight room only for football. The plans are finalized." He said it should be happening here relatively soon. We're dividing up the Wilkinson Performance Center downstairs. That's at the stadium. And then we're dividing that in half, creating a football-only section, totally redoing that. Says we've spent close to $1 million on equipment for both the football side and the other side. A complete brand new package, a wall coming up to divide everything. So it's going to be a state-of-the-art football-only facility. Then on the other side of the room will be for the other Olympic sports, which will be awesome as well. It's kind of a win-win for everybody. So in today's era, in today's world, whether you like it or not, whether you think it's, I don't know, fair or not, you've got to have football-only facilities. The team's too big, it's too important, and it is just necessary. They have to have their own things because there are so many athletes on campus nowadays that they can't all be using the same stuff. Football, think about it. It's the biggest team on campus. They need to have their own place to go to work out, do team things, hang out, just go somewhere to eat, all those types of things. They need to have their own spot to do that just from a size and comfortable standpoint. Not to mention, it's football. They need to be doing their own thing anyway. So it's exciting to hear that all of these things are going to be happening. I like this quote from Scott Dolson too. He said, "Big picture, what we've looked at is how can we improve our fan experience much like we did at Assembly Hall? Ultimately, put together a plan to say what should the stadium look like for the future. And I think from my perspective, going to an 18-team league in the Big Ten is how big football is. We'd be short-sighted, blah, blah, blah." So talking about how the expansion of the Big Ten is just showing how behind Indiana is in the facilities. Now, talk about a team like USC that Julian Lewis is committed to. Yeah, you've got to compete with them now. And they're an in-conference foe. That's so crazy to think about. I know I haven't fully figured it out either. But that's something that you have to start comparing yourself to. And Indiana is finally doing what they need to make it better for the football side. And I think you have to give, a ton of credit to Scott Dolson, the athletic director. But you got to give credit to Curt Cignetti for coming in here and saying, yeah, we're turning this thing around right now. And they ponied up, did Indiana. They said, okay, all right, that's cool. Here we go. Just, okay, don't hurt us. Here you go. Here's our money type of thing. Not in that sense, but you get what I'm saying. Curt Cignetti walked in and said, look, we got to make some changes. We got to make this place better. If you want me to win, Google me. I win. That's what he says. But I've got to have my things. I've got to have this where it needs to be, and it ain't where it needs to be, which is why they've started bringing some money and finding some money. And most importantly, they've started spending some money. And man, you start doing that, and it may not be where it needs to be right now. It's not. But when Julian Lewis walks in the door and it's not where it needs to be, but as these things start to get done through the summer and through the fall and into next fall, when he will be here, if he commits and signs and doesn't withdraw it, you show him that you're trying. You show him that Indiana football is making progress, and then you sell him a future. You sell him the future of Indiana football resides in your arms and your hands, kid. You can have the keys to the program right now. You'll be walking into brand new facilities. You'll be walking into a second year under a new head coach. You'll be walking into the most NIL money the football program has ever seen. And a fan base that's going to be more bought in than they have been in a long, long time. That's all great things to sell to somebody like him. You have to have that, because these other programs, they'll sell him on, probably a little bit more NIL money and probably nicer facilities right now. And they'll be able to sell him on historical success with their football programs. More USC and Auburn than Colorado, but Colorado's got the flashiness, which is fine. And you've still got, USC is trying to get back to relevance in football, and Auburn has a new head coach, Hugh Freeze, right? Year 2, I think. So you have all that going on. So everybody's kind of floating around and trying to figure out what's going to happen here. But man, if you can sell all that to him and just say, look, we understand we're not where we need to be, facilities wise, money wise, stadium wise, fan base wise, like in terms of the buy-in to the program day in, day out. But look, we're trying and we're working on it, and it's going to get better. And man, if you show up here and you come to Indiana, man, you can change that. You can be the one to accelerate that. Isn't that exciting? Wouldn't you want to at least check that out and try to buy into that? I would. If I'm a 5-star recruit, I'm thinking, man, I can completely turn this program around. Not to mention, ladies and gentlemen, what that would do to recruiting and transfer portal recruiting immediately if Julian Lewis commits. Do you imagine how many players would flip their commitment immediately? They could all team up and decide, hey, let's go be Indiana Hoosiers. Let's go turn that program around and make it relevant again. Man, the possibilities are endless here. And it all starts with one player, and Julian Lewis. And you have facility upgrades in the works. You have the right things going in the right directions. Head coach Curt Cignetti has already done big-time things for this program. I expect him to do more. You got to win games. There's no doubt. You got to win games on the field. But, man, you start doing that, pair some wins with some new facilities and a little bit of cold, hard cash, Julian Lewis could be an Indiana Hoosier before we know it. Coming up on our final segment on Locked On Hoosiers, taking a sidestep from football, talking a little Indiana baseball as we get down to the final 2 weekends of the regular season. Hoosiers battling at the top of the Big Ten standings. We'll talk about that coming up on Locked On Hoosiers. Today's episode of Locked On Hoosiers is brought to you by Monopoly Go. All right, look, timeout, game off. We got to pause here to talk more about Monopoly Go. I know what you're saying. Flag on the play. You already talked about that, but there's just so much good stuff in this game. In Monopoly Go, you can team up with friends for timed tournaments where you work together to build up each other's boards. The more you win together, the more awesome prizes you unlock. And there's so much to get. Unique stickers you can trade with friends to complete albums for big prizes, cool new playing pieces for travel the boards with, hilarious emojis for taunting friends when you smash their buildings or take all their stuff. Plus, Monopoly Go feels new and exciting every single day with constantly changing tournaments and challenges. A ton include their own unique mini games like digging for treasure or a robot pachinko machine. There's always new timed events that help you win big, like massive multipliers for everything you win or rent frenzies. There's always something fun to discover in Monopoly Go, so get off the bench and go download it now for free on Google Play or the App Store. Monopoly Go, game on. Final segment here on Locked On Hoosiers. Appreciate you being here. And again, being an everydayer, those of you that come back each and every day, truly make this your first listen every single day. Thank you so much for making that so. Let's talk a little Indiana baseball, because this team has been rocking and rolling. And I know we have not really talked a whole lot about it, but man, we're getting down to it and got to bring this into the rotation. The Hoosiers on the road starting on this today, Friday, right? Friday, Saturday, Sunday series at Nebraska over in Lincoln. And you start looking at the standings, man, and it is tight at the top, man. It is just jam-packed at the top of the Big Ten standings. Illinois right now at the top. They sit at 13-5 in the conference. And then it's a log jam back behind them. Purdue, 12-6. Nebraska, 12-6. Indiana, 12-6. Iowa, 13-8. And Michigan, 11-7. That's insane. That is just crazy what the standings are looking like right now. I said the Hoosiers, they're in there. They're tied in a three-way tie, standings-wise, with Purdue and Nebraska for second place. Now, we understand and we all know that last weekend was a huge swing weekend for the Big Ten standings because the Hoosiers went on the road and beat Purdue after dropping game one on Friday night. They lost game one 7-4. They turn around and get game two on Saturday, dominating fashion 10-2. And then they take game three on Sunday in dramatic fashion 5-4. That was a huge win, not just because it's Purdue. We love beating them and everything, but you get a huge win and you stick around in the standings. You drop that series against Purdue, you're in trouble when in terms of trying to reach the mountaintop in this conference. Unfortunately, earlier in the season, you did drop that series against Illinois. It was way back when. It was literally the first conference series of the season back in March of 22, 23, 24, where you didn't get swept. You did win a game, but the other two just weren't all that close. And so, unfortunately, you don't have a tiebreaker over that Illinois team. But what you do have is the tiebreaker over Purdue. And what you can get this weekend is the tiebreaker over Nebraska. Now, Nebraska has the pitcher of the week, so that's not something you want to have to see and deal with when you go on the road, but shouldn't be scared to go on the road, shouldn't be worried about it. This Indiana team, as of late, playing really good baseball. They went on the road and, like I said, got that win at Purdue. You got the sweep of Rutgers here at home, right, against the Rutgers team here in Bloomington. You got the series win over Minnesota, and all things considered, record-wise and everything, we're right where we need to be. 12-6 in conference play, looking solid, 27-19 overall. This team is surging towards the postseason, which is exciting to say about an Indiana baseball team that has really turned it on as of late and is exciting to watch. They've got a lot of raw talent and they're just gritty, man. They're just fun to watch, and it's hard to beat this team. I'm excited to take in the series and watch it this weekend over in Lincoln. No, I will not be there, but I'll definitely be keeping up with it and watching it. And you've got this series against Nebraska, against Nebraska. And then, not that it's difficult, but it is a little bit tough. You've got to play Michigan. That's why I mentioned them in the standings. You play Michigan to wrap up the regular season here in Bloomington, and they are right there with you. They're 11-7, just two teams behind. They're between it's Indiana, then Iowa, and then Michigan. So these are all important series because you're ahead of Michigan. That's cool. That's great. But you got to stay ahead of them. And so you need to beat them, including Nebraska. You've got to get that done as well. And you look at what's going on around the conference, and you've got Illinois, who plays Iowa this weekend. But Illinois hosts Iowa, Okay, Michigan hosts Purdue, and Nebraska, of course, hosting Indiana. So all those top teams are kind of playing each other this weekend. It's worked out perfectly, man. Don't you love baseball sometimes? Don't you love how the schedule just falls into place sometimes and how everybody's playing everybody at the perfect time? And look, these standings as of right now, again, here they are. Illinois at the top, Purdue, Nebraska, Indiana, Iowa, Michigan. That's going to change. We got 2 weeks left. That's going to get jumbled up somehow, some way, because basically all those teams are playing each other in the next 2 weeks. So I don't know how it's going to end up, but I feel confident in Indiana to hang around. Do they get to the top? I don't know, but they're going to be playing, and they're going to be playing the best baseball. You got to take care of business against Nebraska this weekend on the road. Come home for the regular season finale against Michigan here in Bloomington. Well, that's going to do it for today's episode of Locked on Hoosiers. Man, I appreciate you being here, making this your first listen each and every day. How about an episode of no basketball? Pretty crazy, huh? Maybe the first time ever on this show, but I like it. We'll have that more for you as we move forward. Look, have a great weekend. Thank you so much. If you're listening to this on Friday, the day it comes out, I appreciate you. If you're listening to it later on, watching it, just catching up, I appreciate you as well. Be sure you drop a subscribe, okay? It's easy. It's free. Takes one tap with your thumb. Make sure you do that. Like the video, comment down below on anything that we talked about today. Share this with your family and your friends. And until next time, Hoosier fans, stay safe, and I'll talk to you later.